we have a new package. Check this out. I'm usually not a case guy. I don't bring my drone into a suitcase like this, but this thing seems solid. It seems extremely robust and safe for the drone itself. So I just saw it's a fully waterproof IP67 certified carrying case for the Mavic Air 2. So in case I'm taking the Mavic Air 2 with me on a boat or somewhere where I know it might get damaged by water, I will be bringing it in this case. So thank you once again, DJI Tech. Alright, so what's up everybody, this is Mike. Welcome back to another video. Today we will be talking about hyperlapses with the DJI Mavic Air 2. Hyperlapses are something that I love making, and I think they are a great segue to separate your stories, maybe when you're vlogging and you want to quickly show that time has passed and you're ready to get to another scene. Hyperlapses are a great way to do that. In addition, they also look great and they're a nice way to spice up your drone footage. So in today's video, I'll share how I do my hyperlapses, a couple of tips on how to do them a little bit smoother and better looking, and hopefully you will learn something new today. Now, with the latest firmware update for the Mavic Air 2, we saw the new addition of 4K hyperlapses. Before we had 1080p hyperlapses and 8K hyperlapses. The 8K hyperlapses were using the full 48 megapixels photos of the Mavic Air 2. Personally, I was not a huge fan of those because yes, they give you more resolution, but they are a lot heavier to make, and also the drone cannot take a lot of photos. What I mean by that is when you select 8K hyperlapse in your Mavic Air 2 settings, the drone will not let you take photos every 2 seconds, for example. It will let you take a photo every 5 or 6 seconds, let's say. And what that means is that you have to make a longer hyperlapse so you have a nice duration. A nice duration for me is 5 or 6 seconds of a hyperlapse. That way you can speed it up a little bit or you can leave it at that duration. But in order to create a hyperlapse that is 5 or 6 seconds long, you will need to waste a full battery. So with the new firmware update, now we have 4K hyperlapses, which for me is the best middle ground between 1080p and 8K. So in 4K you will be able to take a photo every 2 seconds, and creating a nice 5-second hyperlapse will take you just a couple of minutes now. So you can maximize your time and create a couple of hyperlapses with one battery only. So for me that's a win, and I don't need that super extra high resolution when creating hyperlapses. I think 4K is good enough. So in today's video I'll show you how I do my 4K hyperlapses with the Mavic Air 2. So the first thing we'll start with is obviously your camera settings. So make sure you go into your drone's camera settings and select the right resolution first. In this case that's going to be 4K. For photo type, make sure you have selected RAW. That's extremely important for later. As for the white balance, you can set it to a custom value if you want, but I personally prefer to leave it to auto. You have full control over your white balance when you're creating RAW photos, so that's fine. You can always tweak it later in Lightroom. Then what you need to do is figure out what type of hyperlapse you want to make. For this particular example, I have decided to do a waypoints hyperlapse. This gives me the most flexibility and freedom to move the drone as much as I want. And I have decided to go from left to right on this boulevard to showcase the movement of all of these cars. So I have selected 2 points for this hyperlapse, one on the right edge of the boulevard and one on the left one. For the left one, I decided to increase my altitude a little bit. Then I reversed these 2 hyperlapse points. So the drone will start from the left and will go back to the right. And the most important part here is to figure out what your duration is going to be and what your interval is going to be. The interval is the important number here because the lower the interval number is, the more photos the drone will take. So the drone will take a photo every 2 seconds in my case. So that will make the final result a lot smoother compared to photo every 5 seconds, for example. And if you notice, I have selected my manual camera settings to be ISO 100. My shutter is set to 1/4 of a second, and that is important if you want to have a lot of motion blur in your photos. I'm using an extremely dark ND filter on my drone. It's the Polar Pro variable ND filter from 6 to 9, and I think it's currently set to 9 stops of strength. So that allows me to select this shutter speed so I can have nice, good looking motion blur and still have properly exposed image. From then on, it's just a matter of waiting, and the drone will take 125 photos for this left to right movement. And once it's done, we'll get to the next step. Before we continue with the video, I want to quickly take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community where millions come together to take the next step in their creative journey, with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people on topics including illustration, design, photography, video, freelancing, and more. Members get unlimited access to thousands of classes with hands-on projects and feedback from a community of millions. Most classes are under 60 minutes with short lessons to fit any schedule. A class which I really like and I took recently is by Oliver Astrologo, and it's called Video Editing, Transforming Footage into Evocative Travel Stories. In this class, Oliver is sharing his ways of transforming regular travel footage into some epic content that you will be glad to share on social media. So personally, I'm a huge fan of that, and I'm always learning new techniques, new ways to improve my footage, and I really enjoyed this class. So now the first 1,000 of my subscribers who click the link in the description are going to get 2 months for free of Skillshare Premium, so you can start exploring your creativity today. Now for the next step, we need to use Adobe Lightroom so we can access all of these raw photos that we created from the drone while doing this hyperlapse, so we can quickly edit all of them together. Don't get discouraged, as you only need to edit the first photo and then we can paste our settings on the next 124 photos, so it will not take too much time. So first what we need to do is import the whole folder with all of these photos that we have created. Now that it's done, we can start editing our first photo. This is really a personal choice, so you can edit this photo with a preset, you can apply some little tweaks with the sliders on the right side in Lightroom. So it's really up to you how you want to edit this photo. So for this particular example, I decided to not use my own presets and just tweak the photo very quickly with the sliders on the right side, just so I can make it look better. And I want to point your attention towards the cars that are passing by. Take a look at how blurry they are, and that is going to make a massive difference in the final result. Like I said, the variable ND filter which I was using is not mandatory. You can use any camera settings that you want, but when you're using a very dark filter and you use this shutter speed of 1/4 of a second, this will allow you to have this natural motion blur in your photos, and the final result will look a little bit more natural compared to something that was taken with a regular shutter speed, for example. So it's really not necessary, as you can always apply motion blur to your final hyperlapse result, but to me this looks a little bit better. So if you have access to those filters, it's better to use them than to not use them. So now that the photo has been edited a little bit and you're satisfied with the end result, all you need to do is copy those settings from this edited photo and paste it to the other ones. So to do that, you need to right click on your edited photo and go to Develop Settings and then select Copy Settings. Then what you need to do is select all of the rest of the photos and right click, Develop Settings, Paste Settings. Wait until that's done and then go and select all of the photos once again and click on Export. Make sure you export these photos in a separate folder with the maximum possible quality and resolution. The next step is to open Adobe After Effects, and this is key because After Effects has probably one of the best stabilization plugins out there called Warp Stabilizer, and you will need that to stabilize our hyperlapse. So you can create a new project in After Effects by using the New Composition from Footage button. Click on that and make sure you import all of your photos that you just exported from Lightroom. Don't forget to click on Create Composition and import JPEG sequence checkmarks. And from then on, you already have all of your photos into one sequence. The last step you need to do is to search for Warp Stabilizer plugin into your right panel with all of these plugins and just drag it and place it over your footage. From then on, you need to wait until After Effects stabilizes your hyperlapse, and hopefully if it wasn't too windy, the result will be perfectly smooth. However, if it has been windy and the final result doesn't look good, I will have a video showcasing what else you can do to stabilize your hyperlapse if it's too bumpy and jittery and it doesn't look good. I found it recently on YouTube, and it's a very nicely explained tutorial on how to use trackers to stabilize your hyperlapse. So I'll link it in the description if you want to know more. Luckily for me though, the result was good enough as it wasn't too windy, so the warp stabilizer did a perfect job, and I'm really happy with the final result. So here it is. And there you guys have it. This is how I do my hyperlapses. I really think those hyperlapses are a great way to spice up your footage, make it a little bit more appealing, more interesting, and also they're a great segue of different segments in your videos, so if you can really use them as a nice transition between different moments. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, I think you know what to do. The like button is right there, the subscribe button is also right there. Make sure you hit both of these buttons before you go, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in my next video very soon. Take care guys, see you soon, bye bye.